You're listening to the Team Stripes Podcast, the podcast for hockey referees. Each show, we discuss the world of officiating and find out that not everything is black and white.
We are joined here this week by a good friend of the show, even though it's a new show, Cameron Fox. So Cam hails from out west, and he is a new addition to the Ottawa reffing community, and he is one of our new young up-and-coming officials who is making his mark in the league. So Cam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
How's it going? As Brent said, my name's Cameron. This is my, I think I've been reffing for about 7 years now. So what kind of brought me out east was school, and it's just kind of a lucky little, or a bit of luck that brought me here. So, just kind of doing junior hockey and minor hockey every once in a while, and
Yeah. So you're a new guy here in Ottawa. Have you found it a little bit different, kind of adjusting to the scene here as opposed to out west?
It's a little bit more welcoming, I think. I think there's a little bit more focus on upgrading a lot more guys than kind of what I found back west. But it's been really easy to adjust. I mean, helps with knowing people through reffing, so it's a way to connect, I guess.
So this year, I know last year we worked a couple minor hockey games together. This year you've moved up to doing Junior A for sure for linesman, as a linesman, doing Junior B. Are you doing refereeing or lining for Junior B?
Right now I'm linesing Junior B. Yeah. Okay.
And are you doing Junior C as well?
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of everything there. So how's your experience been this year in terms of officiating junior?
I can definitely see a big difference from last year. It was a big growing year last year, just jumping from minor hockey to junior hockey within 1 or 2 games that I worked here. No, it's last year was kind of a push for me, kind of figure out what I'm more focused on the ice. I mean, you focus on a whole lot different stuff in minor hockey than you do in junior hockey. There's a little bit more optics to kind of focus on in junior hockey, I think.
That's interesting. Like, you mean like just kind of how you present yourself? Or?
Well, yeah, presenting yourself and the finer details of it. Like, there was a U18 game we had a couple days ago, and I was linesing that, and it's 4-man system, but there was a questionable hit in the center of the ice, and I think it was first round of overtime, and I kind of looked like a hit from behind me, and so that referee mentality kind of kicked in over a linesman mentality that I didn't have a major penalty on it, but 2 refs were talking at the center of the ice, so I went over there and I kind of discussed it with them, and I'm thinking I had the referee mentality first, like, oh yeah, what did you guys see on that hit, versus the linesman mentality that, you know, if you don't have a major penalty and they didn't put their arm up, well, why the hell are you over there, right?
Right. So did they have their arm up on that play?
No,
so there was just a kind of a discussion?
It was a discussion thing, yeah.
Okay. But there wouldn't be anything wrong with you going over and just chatting with them, though, and just kind of giving your perspective, though, right?
That's what I thought, and then, I mean, the supervisor that we had made the point that if I'm not calling a penalty, that almost loses a little bit more credibility with the referees, because if their linesman comes over to say, like, hey, you know, you should have called something on there. If I can't make a call, then what's the point of going over there, right?
Okay. Yeah, see, I never really followed the rule book, you know, per se. I've always thought that, you know, I'm a linesman, I don't referee anymore. But I don't know, if I saw something, and I would at least let my referee know, just so he knows what's going on, even if it's not a...
That was kind of a mentality I had.
Just to kind of give him your perspective. I mean, ultimately, I think we're out here to make the right call. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think optics, it's interesting, like you mentioned that, though. Like, optics is definitely important, but then there's that point where, you know, sometimes you might need to kind of step in there, even if it looks bad.
Yeah.
As long as you keep the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the big thing, but I mean, that's my perspective as a linesman.
Yeah, but I think that's a good mentality to have, though. I mean, a lot of linesmen that you work with don't necessarily think about that side of the game. It's more so, I'm just going to call blue line and red line, and that's it.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, the kind of team effort that you got to start focusing on the higher levels, because, you know, you'll come in the sticky situations, and, you know, you'll have to work at it as a team rather than each individual possession.
I mean, you wouldn't like consider yourself, because you're I mean, this is no gripe against you, but you're not a bigger guy, so I would assume that your path forward is more as a referee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I mean, for those of you watching and listening at home, Cam, actually, what was the tournament you just came back from? It's a big tournament out west, right?
It was the Max tournament. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how what's that tournament all about? What is it and how did it go?
It's a Midget AAA tournament or U18, whatever you want to call it. It's based in Calgary, and really, it's not only a tournament of just the elite players. It's a showcase for the players and the officials, I think. I know a lot of guys working in Alberta, they'll go on to do that tournament, and that'll kind of be their way of showing their skills and stuff to the higher levels, like the AJHL, the Alberta Junior League, and the Western League, whoever's going and watching those things. So
okay.
Yeah, it's a big showcase kind of thing. I don't think it's as big as the TELUS Cup.
Okay.
Same kind of mentality, I think.
Right. So how was the process? How did you get invited to that?
I'm not sure the process. I know it was just one day. Steve, our assigner, called myself and another ref, and just said, "Yeah, you guys want to go out to Calgary to do a tournament?" And I mean, why not?
I'm assuming that's a pretty quick yes from you. There's not a whole lot of debate at that point.
Yeah, as soon as you tell me you can fly me out to Calgary for free and ref hockey, that's not bad.
So it was a couple local guys from here. So for the referee crew that was over there, was it just kind of guys from everywhere that came together for it?
Yeah, it was mostly just Alberta guys, and then I think Ottawa and Alberta, Ottawa specifically, Ottawa and all around Alberta have an exchange program.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it might just be in Edmonton, but past couple of years they've had either a top Edmonton official from they've got something called a development camp,
okay,
a D camp there, and basically it's a development camp for more elite officials, and that's another kind of way to showcase your skills and stuff. So they'll pick the top guy from that tournament or camp or whatever, and send the guy out and work a couple games here.
Okay.
And then whoever kind of stands out here, I guess, or based on whatever decisions they make, they'll send a guy out for the Max tournament.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's it was really cool. I got to work with a whole bunch of guys from Edmonton that I used to work with in minor hockey and stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was weird because I mean, those are all the guys that I kind of looked up to for because they were doing way higher level hockey than I was, and then coming back and being on the same ice and everything was kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. You don't see a lot of the guys, I'm assuming, for at least a few years, and you kind of come together and do a big tournament together. And the one cool thing, like I've done a couple of these sort of tournaments where you travel. Like I went to the U17 this year,
Dawson Creek,
in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, which was not a big city.
No.
I mean, I'm assuming Calgary might have a little bit more to do there, but anyway, like it's cool. Like you get to go and you get to work great hockey, but it's cool. Like the stuff away from the rink, like you get to be with all these guys from all across the country and go out and grab beers or whatever after the game, which we are all over 19 for anybody that's curious. Grab beers after the game, go to a restaurant, do your thing, and that's like the cool part. Like I'm sure you came away from Calgary, like sure there was probably good experiences on the ice, but I would imagine
the stories come from that.
A lot of the stuff is probably away from the rink too,
Yeah. I mean, you can't share all the stories that happen at tournaments like that, but no, it's a cool bonding experience because like you said, you get to connect with a whole bunch of guys from all over Canada for the U17, but all over Alberta for that Max tournament. That was very cool, going out and kind of hearing everybody's story and how they got there.
Yeah. And I would imagine, like, I know for me, like, you get to connect with a lot of guys that you would not probably get to meet otherwise. And a lot of these guys have pretty big ambitions for their career. So it's kind of cool. You get to connect with them and see how they progress. And, you might see these guys, make appearances at the pro level or the CHL and it's kind of cool to be able to say, hey, congratulations, or even just keeping tabs on how they make out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I noticed, I went to a referee development camp in Penticton in BC. I think it was about 2 years ago now. And a lot of the guys there were, they were repping or linesman junior A in the BCHL, and now a couple guys have moved on to the Western Hockey League, and just seeing them, like pictures on Instagram and stuff of, working their first games and sending a text saying congratulations and stuff. It's very, pretty cool. Good for them.
And part of the reason we wanted to get this podcast going is because I think as referees, we're a pretty tight knit community, and for us, there's no real home games, and you can get a lot of stuff thrown your way. So it's cool to be able to send those messages of support, or just been keeping tabs of guys.
Because we have things like Gong Show that are kind of like the hockey clothing area, and then or hockey players at least, and there's things like RefCorps that kind of have that ambition, but it's cool because there's differences of course in the details, but I think a lot of the referees are very similar in how they think and their mentality on the game.
Just kind of the similar personalities.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you describe See, I can never probably cut it as a referee just because I don't have that type of person. I got my linesman, I can do my black and white calls, and it's very straightforward. I can settle down some conflicts and stuff. But as a referee, do you see different type? What is that personality type that allows you to be a referee? And
I think it's enjoying the challenge that you get. There's first challenges when you're linesing. There's interpretation on calls every once in a while, and your judgment at specific times, but. I think that's more amplified when you're a referee, or at least you have more opportunity to interpret and judge, because you're figuring out, if the guy did slash him, what's the outcome of that? Where did that take us in the play? How did that affect the players and things like that? And I think a lot of referees, at least that are working higher levels, agree that the challenge that you get with that is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah.
It's stressful at times, I can imagine, but it's that's at least why I enjoy it, because I get a different challenge every game. You get to figure out what rules apply, and
And the one thing, I always had a tough time I used to play the game, but even refereeing, I found it was tough to find that feel for those penalty calls sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you find that's something you just kind of naturally get, or is it one of those things where it's just trial and error that, you have to just make a mistake and learn from it? What's your...
I never played high or junior hockey at all. And so, with that, and I didn't play Midget AAA either. And so with that, I remember last year, my first Midget AAA game, that was the first time reffing it in this first four-man system. And so all those things kind of mix together. Well, I don't know the playing style. I don't know how. I know that what a penalty looks like, but the penalty is very different in all different types of games. In minor hockey, you can call it slash, and it's definitely going to be a slash. But Midget AAA, it may not be a slash. It may be a little tap, and I think for me at least, because I don't have the playing experience, I think it's trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out why people commit infractions at different points of the game, because it's a little bit more strategic at that level.
Right.
I think just exposing yourself to the game, watching game videos, and seeing how other higher level referees react to certain situations.
Yeah.
Because we all know that what a cross check looks like, but again, it changes throughout every single game.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you find you've learned more, I guess, through kind of your own experiences, or, coming, as someone who officiates now in the CCHL here in Junior A and Junior B, and do you learn from these experienced referees, and do you take things do you see from them, or how does that all fit into it?
Yeah. It's the it's all the the interactions you have with the referees that are working the higher levels that have gone through that trial and error phase, and so you can kind of jump past that point, and you can figure out what worked for them, what doesn't work. And that's not to say that everything that works for one referee is going to work for another one.
Right. You can definitely see some different personality types out
exactly,
there.
Exactly, yeah. Look at how referees handle coaches. Some guys will go up and just return exactly what they've been told, whereas some guys will take a more diffusing approach. So like even in that detail, the mentality is different. But
yeah, and is that something too? Like you kind of, you're saying like you kind of learn from your experiences and you kind of learn how to improve your call making or whatever. Is that something that changes too as you progress? You change your, I don't want to say your personality, but the way you kind of comport yourself on the ice. Is there?
I think just a better understanding of what's happening on the ice. I mean, I look at games differently even from last year to now. Just understanding again like why people are doing the things that they do on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think exposing yourself and communicating or interacting with the older officials and more experienced officials is a component of it.
Yeah.
I think another component is obviously knowing your rule book and exposing yourself to weird game time situations.
Yeah.
And also looking up YouTube videos and stuff about how, people are on the ice and
the mic'd up videos
like see exactly what they say. I mean, what works for them, what doesn't work, right?
Yeah. See, I always love watching those mic'd up videos, man. Like, yeah. I don't know. There's some like you're saying on YouTube there. Like, there's the NHL ones, and there's like I've seen like an AHL one there where they mic up one of the refs the whole game. Like, see, I find those are like the best teaching tools in all honesty, because like, you can, like, everybody knows like to be a ref, you can just do kind of the rule book, like, and just kind of call anything you see.
Yeah.
Have no sort of like, I don't know what the word would be, but like no sort of judgment or whatever, you know. But like that's what really makes the really good refs. And watching those videos and seeing how I think like mostly it's the communication, like how they talk to players, like let them know where they're kind of getting towards that gray area or whatever, and just kind of like I love watching that stuff, man.
Yeah, like if you ever have 5-10 minutes that you're not doing anything in a day, I'll usually pick up my phone and go on YouTube and look up videos like that, because like the finer nuances of the game that like communicating, and you get from YouTube videos like that, that definitely adds to your skill on the ice. And I mean, it's not to say that everyone's going to be Wes McCauley on the ice, but you can take things from his game and you can take things from Lonnie Cameron's game, and it's not pretending that you're an NHL referee or anything, but see why they do the things that they do.
Right.
They're not just doing that all for show. I mean, some of it may be, but other parts of it, it's game management and the communication part of it, that's the biggest. Yeah,
and I think like part of that, I mean, just if you're in the pros, there's a little bit of flair to everything too. You got to really add a little bit like of a showmanship to it, but like, I don't know, man, I love watching that stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just, and like, I don't know, I love watching that stuff as a linesman too. It sounds dumb, but like, there's some of that stuff you watch too, and you notice that some of the referees have funny one-line responses to like, if a player chirps them. And as much as that's really not like an educational part of learning how to referee, I find there's no better asset than having a quick one-liner to come back to a guy with if he chirps you or something. Have your go-to line. Do you have anything like that?
Like I think it's also like a respect thing too on the ice. Like, I definitely didn't have any of that in my first year of junior hockey, especially because I was very nervous first bunch of games. But even now I compare like just how I interact with guys on the ice. If I know I'm 100% on a line call and a guy behind me on the bench is yelling at me like, "Hey Fox, come on, that was a brutal call or something," I'll turn around and like, "Hey man, I'm having a great game." Like I know I'm so confident on that call. Yeah.
And it's funny because like we went to a level 4 or 5 clinic a month ago or so? Right?
No. Huh? Yeah, I guess now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
9th and 10th,
yeah. Yeah, sure. So level 4, 5 for any listeners that aren't familiar with the Canadian level system, basically, it's kind of like your levels where you're getting to do more junior A and university levels at the higher levels like that. So basically it was cool because one of the coaches in our junior A league came to this question and answer. Yeah, it was like a seminar. Like he came and did like a Q&A session. And it was cool because one of the stories that I know he was talking about, I think was about you. I don't remember this, but he was saying that, there was a linesman in one of the games earlier in the season where it was like a missed icing or offside or something happened. And basically he was sort of giving it to the referee, which happened to be you. And you went up to him and said, "Yep, sorry, I missed the call. That's my bad." And basically, this coach was telling us how that he really respected this official for making that
was in our game.
That admission. Was that in our game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you go. So yeah, so it's one of those things where you make a mistake, and if you own up to it, a lot of the time the coaches will give you that respect. I mean, if you make a mistake and you admit to it, there you go. I mean, certainly I think if you keep making mistakes over and over again, that's a different question. But
speaking about rinks and figuring out or navigating rinks, that's something I kind of forgot. How hard it was or how difficult it was to find the ref room compared to like when I first started refereeing and I had to start going to all these different rinks and finding the ref room. Like, I guess that was kind of a flash from the past because the first 3 or 4 months of doing hockey out here was just navigating the rinks was the most difficult part.
That's why you have a crew that you go with, so you know where you're going.
Yeah, but like for minor hockey and stuff, figuring out those ones, I mean, it's hard enough to find the rink, but find the referee. I don't know. People are in Newtown, they might find that too. But
and we don't really want to gripe on this show about certain referee rooms in the Ottawa-area, but Embrum, if you're listening, you could definitely get an upgrade. I don't know where else has it bad.
Chesterville,
okay, we can definitely use it up. Yeah, that one's not that. Yeah, it's a pretty tiny one.
That's a hallway.
Is that where the North Dundas team plays out of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny though. Like we both refereed for a while, and it's cool. Like you go to some rinks, and they're just tiny little closets they're sticking you in, and a lot of the time you hear it's because they actually didn't really plan to have a referee room in the rink. They automatically assume that for the players they gotta have 8 players rooms in the rink. You gotta have their stands. They gotta have their but the referee rooms usually don't. It seems they don't really come into consideration a lot, honestly.
Yeah,
it's something you think of maybe.
They walk into it and it's like, yeah, this is definitely a broom closet, and they just cleaned it out before the game.
Pretty much. Like the one of the rinks here at Ottawa-U, I think that's literally what it was. It was like a mechanical closet that they made into a referee room.
I haven't been to that. Is that the what arena is that?
That's I don't know what it's called, like the Minto Complex or something.
Oh, okay.
That's where Ottawa-U plays out of. Fortunately for those games, we get a player's room.
Yeah.
But there literally is like a broom closet that you struggle to get through. So
that's funny.
I don't know. So have you been following this? I guess just kind of segueing a little bit into kind of the big, because I mean, when is there never controversy in the NHL ranks for officiating? Have you followed you follow it pretty closely, the NHL stuff in terms of officiating or the big issues that are coming out?
What's a pressing issue?
For me, I always hear about the goalie interference now. That's like a big thing. I mean, do you follow that at all?
Yeah. I've spoken to a few NHL refs, and it's kind of come to the consensus that there's not like a standard for it.
Right.
And I mean, NHL refs listening to this, they may have a different, point of view on it. But from what I've been told, it's certainly in the rule book what goalie interference is, but how you apply that in a game is not standardized.
Yeah.
So like face-offs that they did this year, did they change the face-off standard this year?
The face-off standard is very, very tight. Yeah. I've had a little experience with that.
Yeah, exactly.
it's extremely tight. Yeah. It's very difficult to enforce. But no, like coming back to the goal, like it seems like last year, like is this the first year they've had it, or was it in last year too?
Face-off or
no goalie interference. The video challenge rule.
Oh,
this is first year?
I know when it's been a couple of years that they've had the video challenge rule for offsides, and
they had that offside rule, but it just seems like I remember thinking back a couple of years ago, like goalie interference was always a kind of a controversial thing, but like it's taken on a new life this year with like the whole video review stuff, and it was supposed to be something that kind of was like fixed because of this video review, and it seems like it's just in a deeper mess, which I don't understand how that happened, but
I think because that's a really interesting topic, like reviewing every single call made on the ice. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if that's necessarily the spirit of the game, and it's not to say that we shouldn't make the games more fair, but is that is that necessarily making the game more fair just because you get to review every single play that happens? Like I remember there was an offside that the Oilers were called, a goal that they scored in the same play. I think Kyra was the closest guy, and he was offside because he lifted his foot, and he was the offside player, and the linesman waved it off because it was a split second. His foot was like 2 inches off the ice.
Play, yeah.
And play went on for a minute or two, and then they scored.
See, that to me, and
they can call it back.
See, I don't know how you fix it, because there's no way you could really fix that with a review. You can't say, like, there's a time limit for how long a review can last. Like, but those situations, I've seen those, and it's painful to watch. Because
you're like, did that have any outcome on the game?
No, exactly. And it's just like, I get you want to make the right call, in a sense, but, like, I agree with you. That is not...
Is that the spirit of it?
That's not the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if the league's going to take a look at that. I think it was a good move this year where they at least put that 2-minute minor penalty rule for if you lose a challenge.
Yeah, because everybody was whipping out challenges left, right.
Oh, exactly. What was it? You lost a timeout or something last year? Was that the rule? But it's nice to see a little bit on the offsides, but I don't know. It's like, you look at the sport like baseball. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you follow baseball at all, but
not a whole lot.
So they have the challenge rules and that, but the problem with baseball was they were always trying to increase the pace of the game because a lot of people watching it found it was so slow. Yeah. I mean, it's they decrease the time between the pitches that the pitcher has to throw to make it quicker. They've tried to increase the speed of play, and here it seems like in the NHL we're kind of taking the opposite approach. So those offside situations, sometimes I've seen like some of these reviews go 5-10 minutes, and you're just sitting there like. You want to watch the game, and you're just sitting here waiting for some guy to zoom in on 2 inches of a blue line and see where the skate is. Like, to me, that's not, like, I don't know if it's considered spirit of the game, but it's just like, it's kind of taken away a little bit from the.
Well, like, I guess it comes from like, what's your mentality on the game? Do you want to get every single call on the ice absolutely perfect and not have any kind of like human touch in the game?
Yeah.
Because realistically, like, you could have replaced linesmen with sensors on the blue line,
exactly,
and the red line, and put a sensor in the pocket.
Yeah.
But that's taken out a huge component of the game.
I love the human element. That's cool. Yeah. Mistakes happen. I mean, that's where some of the fun comes. Like same thing. We were talking about baseball, but like you could have like a box that could sense a strike in a ball. Like, would you want that? I mean, I don't really know baseball that well, but I know what you mean. Like, you want that human element in the game. That's part of the game, that we've grown up with. There was always controversy.
Then what are you going to complain about after the game? Like, the reason we lost was
the officiating.
The censor.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that. You have to have like scapegoat.
So maybe instead of doing an official review, you bring the tech guy down. He looks at the data or something like that.
Yeah, so come on.
I mean, what's the game coming to? I don't know. I'm sure people that make these decisions
There's a reason for it.
There's a reason for it, but like
it's just not always evident. I don't think. That's good.
But anyways, so we were just talking about the goalie, all this whole technical element to the game, and like I really like your point. Like, do you really want to take away this sort of human element in the game? Which I don't think you do. I mean, it's cool. Like, I don't know. I think of like the Carey Fraser high sticking incident in game 6 or whatever. Like, that's just it's a cool NHL moment that just kind of will live on in infamy, or it's a cool moment. And I don't know if you want to take, maybe you don't take that away because you can't really have a referee substitute. But that's part of the history of the game.
I think that it also it creates a situation where you can learn. Right, like Carey Fraser walked into that situation. There was no high stick on the play, or like he saw something different.
Gretzky went down, and there was no high stick.
Yeah.
He guessed it was maybe the follow through the shots, and the linesman couldn't really help him out. So
like a situation like that, like that's a huge learning opportunity because you don't get that every single game.
Yeah.
And you can walk away from that situation even if you horribly mess it up. You get a chance to look at it, you get the chance to hear from people and figure out like, okay, this is what you should have done, or you can look at the video, you can see like, oh, I was standing too close to the boards here, or I wasn't looking in the right area.
Yeah.
If everything's perfect, then you can't kind of build where you're at.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like, I mean, just as like players will go through the different levels and improve and learn. Like, that's kind of maybe that's some of the stuff you don't see for the NHL referees, at least. Like, you might gripe and complain, but for the most part, the NHL refs do like a really, really good job. I'm a little biased, but I mean, that doesn't come from nowhere. I mean, a lot of those guys have been grinding it out since their teenage years and working the midget AAA, working the junior series, going to the middle of nowhere on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock at night to do a game. Like they learn and they progress through these mistakes. Like I bet you, that mistake Fraser made has probably been made 100 times, in junior levels. But, maybe you learn from that, so you take a note away. Mm-hmm. So by the time you progress to those professional levels, you can, incorporate them.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, if everything's technically controlled, then, I mean, the only thing learning there is the technology, not the referee, because if you get to stop play every single questionable period in the game and pull out an iPad and look at it, it's like anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Or at least anybody can watch game footage and calm everything down. But I think it really stands out when a referee's under a lot of stress and he has to make the right call at that right moment in time.
And it's cool because I was reading something yesterday. I forget who put it out. Maybe it was like Sportsnet or something. But they were basically talking about how this, especially talking about these review situations, especially talking about the whole goalie interference controversy, and how they think that it might be changing the game because now whenever a goalie feels contact, because he knows it's going to be on video, he'll throw his head back, he'll chuck his stick in the corner, flop around, because they know the refs are going to be looking on video review. And I can imagine myself in that situation. If I'm looking at an iPad and, I see the goalie flopping around, it makes a really big sort of, scene out of it. How am I going to justify not, taking away that goal?
Yeah.
Or, it's like, it's,
well, there's a situation yesterday, again, the Oilers game, kind of biased there, but, I think, Aber is his last name.
Okay. Yeah.
The guy from Nashville.
Right.
He was coming across and the goalie his foot was crossing the red line on the, perimeter, the crease.
Okay.
And so he's now emerging outside of the crease, and his stick's obviously outside of the crease. Pontusberg comes across and hits his shin pad, and the goalie moves the stick. He fans it way out, and it looks absolutely horrible. And then the shot was from the point, and they score.
Yeah.
And they challenged that. I mean, they kept the goal and everything, but you just look at how that goalie reacted. It was like he Pontus absolutely blew up his arm.
Yeah, and
no.
Yeah, I don't know if that's part of the gamesmanship now, or goalies are just doing this. I don't know. I
really hope it isn't.
Yeah, it's tough to say though. I don't know. Like,
it's the same thing with like diving and stuff. Like, look at Brad Marchand's couple situations that he had recently where
that's right.
Either like he was tripped behind the net and he kind of flopped on his stomach.
But that's one thing I find the league's done a good job now is cracking down on that stuff. And like I get to see that stuff through some of the leagues that I work, some of the suspensions that come down for that, and it's like it's cool to see that the NHL is really taking an active step and really cracking down on this. Because I mean, geez, like I hate to give the example of soccer, but you look at that and it's painful to watch.
It's gotten better in the past, or compared to the past, but comparing it to hockey, you don't want any of that in the game because what's the point of it? I get you want to try and draw a penalty and maybe that gives you an advantage to your team, but at what cost?
Yeah. No, and it can't be easy for like the guys that are making that decision because you're basically questioning a person's character. You're saying he's flopping around or whatever, and it can't be an easy call to make.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of
it makes the referee look bad too if he doesn't get it. Immediately. If he doesn't see it as a dive and he calls it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many high sticking situations I saw this year that there's one or two that I saw and the referee, made the high sticking call just because I saw the guy's head go back and hand goes to the mouth and everything. But you look at a video review and it's like, okay, where did you contact him? Yeah,
so I think that's one thing that games, you can argue and debate about all these sort of rule changes, but that's the one thing I think that they have really sort of really been on the right track, I think.
Yeah.
And I think part of that's picking up the right guys that, that are in charge of these decisions. I mean, Paris was brought on as player safety. So, I mean, they make some good decisions, but, I mean.
There's a reason for everything, I guess.
I don't know. It's cool to see. I mean, it's definitely not something that we see in the levels that we do. We don't get to see all these video reviews and having everything micromanaged and seen. I mean, we have certainly videos of the games that get sent in for incidents, but I mean, geez, like it's I don't know. It's a different game. I think it changes it a little bit, but
I remember hearing something about I can't remember who was mentioning it this year, but they were thinking about, wasn't that the level 4-5 clinic they were talking about video review on goals for the Junior A League?
I don't know. Did that?
Or was that kind of like a oh, it would be cool to have kind of thing?
I think it would be cool to have. I don't know how the heck you would really do that effectively. I mean, we don't have like the above camera nets or anything like that. You just have the one guy at center ice going back and forth.
Yeah.
And even then, like, I don't know how you would see some, like, if you saw one, unless it was super obvious and the referees were just totally sleeping, I don't know how you could even use that. So, I mean, it's a big investment from the league putting if you wanted to really do that.
You'd have to do it properly, though. You couldn't have just one guy standing in the corner with a video camera, like.
No, exactly. For those, you'd have to have that overhead footage or something. And
they could probably do that at Cornwall.
Maybe in Cornwall,
I've seen pictures of the overhead shot and everything.
I don't know if that's just for the camera guy or something there, but
that might be.
I mean, that's a big investment to make, and the maintenance, and if something gets broken, I mean, you have to have a guy go up there. Like that's all. I mean, for a lot of these teams, especially in our area, I mean, I'm sure it's tough enough financially to keep a team afloat. I can't imagine having that extra expense.
Equipment crew for every single game.
Oh, that's the thing, and because that's the thing. You have to have somebody that can bring up the video for the referees when they want to take a look at it, and I don't know. Maybe it's something you could do for the playoffs, but I think it's to be a tough sell for the regular season. I mean, and like frankly, I do quite a bit of the Junior A games here, and there's not a whole lot of. There's really not many situations like that I've run into this year where there's that did it or did it not cross. Maybe a handful all year. And so, obviously you want to get those calls right, but I don't think it really is to the point where it really takes away from the game. But that's just me. I don't know. But anyways, I think we'll probably wrap up in a few minutes there. But no, Cam, it's been cool getting to know you the last couple of years, and certainly watch you progress through the officiating ranks, and especially getting your Mac. Is it Mac or Max? What do you call it?
Max.
Max?
MAX?
Like McDonald's?
Yeah, no, it's like the, what company is that? It's like the Max gas stations.
Macau?
They have them out here.
Macau?
It's like Couche-Tard. French ones.
Is that like McCowan or Mac?
I don't know what it's short for, but it's got like the owl in the front.
Couche-Tard. I don't know, man. All I know is the Irvings because I'm from the Maritimes. That's the only gas stations I know.
That was my attempt in French.
Yeah, it's okay. Not everybody can do it. Even I'm from New Brunswick, and I'm half Acadian, but I do not like speaking French because, especially here in Ottawa, man, the people make fun of you. But anyways, aside from that's not really on our officiating radar. So, anyways, no, it's been cool to get to see you progress, and geez, I know there's big things for you down the road, and I'm interested to see kind of where your career goes from here. So, we'll
thanks for having me on the show here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And is there any handles or any Instagram feeds you want your listeners to check in on yet?
If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's C_Foxer. I don't post a whole lot of content, but what's there is gold.
He does post some very good referee pictures, and
there's 2 on there. 3 maybe.
They look good. I'm not on Instagram, so I don't really know. But I've seen. I'm old. Yeah, Cam's just a young buck, but he's already progressed, and he's coming for our job. So if you're working pro hockey, look out. Cam will be taking your job pretty soon. So yeah, Cam, thanks for coming on the show, and best of luck the rest of the season and down the road.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brandon.
Yeah, cheers.